Hi folks. So this week I finished version 2 of my Death Star pedalboard, which was a rebuild of a pedalboard that I built around 6 months ago, but I didn't make a video on that one at the time. And this was rebuilt specifically to work in conjunction with my new amp, the Mezzabarba MZero Overdrive. I'm going to show you a quick sound example, and then we are going to break down exactly what's going on with this board. So what's going on here? Well, the heart of the board is the RJM Mastermind PBC 10, which is pedalboard controller, and it has 10 audio loops in it. This is controlling 7 different effects, as well as a volume pedal and a smart gate. It's also controlling the MIDI program changes on the Eventide H9, and eventually the Suhr Audio Collider. I haven't got that hooked up yet because I only just got it just before I built the board. And it is also dealing with the channel switching on the amp. All of the power is taken care of by 2 switch mode power supplies made by Xotic. All of the cables are Mogami 2319, which I soldered with a mixture of square plugs, the SP400, which is the right angle kind of end, and the SPS5 for the straight end. Now the RJM unit has, I think, 3 buffers built into it, but I have all my buffering taken care of by the Red 7 Smart Patch, and this is also acting as a kind of hub for all my cabling as well. Now, essentially what we have with this board is 2 different chains. We have a chain which runs to the front of the amp, and we have a chain which runs to the effects loop. But the beauty of the Smart Patch is that because of the switching capabilities of it on the inside, it means that you can easily switch between a rig where you are running into an effects loop, and let's say I have another amp like my FGR 37 which doesn't have one. I can run straight into the front of that, and without changing any of the cabling on the board, it will reroute to just an input and an output, which is amazing. If you're digging these videos and would like to support me making more of them, please check out the Session Heroes Patreon page. There's a link in the description below. Not only will you be supporting me in making a video every week, but you will also get an additional lesson each month, as well as access to the backing tracks I use, private Q&A, as well as behind the scenes stuff like gear settings, patches, profiles, etc, etc, etc. Hope to see a few more of you guys over there soon. Come join the party. So let me talk you through the loops. We start off in the kind of first chain of the board with a Digitech Whammy pedal. I think this is a Whammy 5, and I put this first because I find pitch effects usually like to be close to the signal of the guitar, so that's why that's there. In loop 2, we have the Boss FZ2, which is an older version of their fuzz pedal, which is really gnarly sounding and cool. Loop 3, I have one of my favourite compressors ever, which is the Wampler Mini Ego Comp. In Loop 4, I have my only other real overdrive of the board. So I kind of made a choice with this one that I was going to give myself a little bit more room for cabling, because the last one was really tight, and that I was going to mostly rely on the overdrive channel of the amp because it sounds awesome. However, I wanted to put just one box on here to give me a slightly smaller sounding overdrive, something more reminiscent of like a smaller amp sound. And this does that really, really well. It's a really great sounding overdrive pedal. I really like it. It sounds very natural. In loop number 5, we have the only real kind of dedicated modulation effect I've got on here, which is an old Analogman Chorus. In loop 6, I currently don't have anything. I'm just keeping that as a spare in case I need it. So at that point, I would come back into the Smart Patch, and that would essentially be completing the chain that runs into the front of the amp. Guitar, Smart Patch, loops 1 through to 5, back into the Smart Patch, back into the amp. Second chain is a mixture of kind of, I guess, noise controlling stuff and my wet effects. So the first thing in the second effects chain is an MXR Smart Gate. In loop 7, I've actually put a volume pedal. Now I've put this in different places all over the board before, and I thought just because I had the luxury of having a couple of loops free, this time I would put it into a dedicated loop. It means I can put it exactly where I want it in terms of the effects chain, which finally takes us to probably the two most fun kind of effects on the board. I have an Eventide H9, which I'm sure, as you guys know, does everything, and a Source Audio Collider. So at the moment I'm mostly using the Eventide for delays, because probably my favourite delay pedal in the world is the Eventide Time Factor, but it's pretty big, and I also started getting a bit nervous about them because I had a couple of them fail on me. I think they had one bad batch, so I was unfortunate to buy 2 of those. So I'm mostly using the H9 for delays, but I also have a couple of wacky bit crushers and stuff in there, and a couple of octave fuzz effects which I'll use as well. And then finally we have the Source Audio Collider, which I'm ashamed to say at the moment I'm only using one mode of. I'm only using the reverb E-dome setting, just because I got this finished literally the night before the first gig with my band Black Sky Research, and this is all I needed for the time. However, it is midded up, ready to go. So as I get deeper into that, I will start doing some programming stuff with it. Now, one thing which I had a mess around with literally just before filming this video is that I was aware there is an internal line mixer within the RJM unit, which means I can run my wet effects in parallel, i.e. how they would have been run back in the sort of rack days. In other words, you run the units 100% wet, and then they are sort of blended into an analog dry path. It also means that the 2 units don't interact with each other. So the reverb and the delay are completely kind of separate. I'm not, for example, adding reverb to the delay repeats. I'm just adding reverb to the original signal of the guitar. Okay, so I'm going to take you through a few of the sounds I've got going on individual pedals so you can kind of hear what's going on in a bit more clarity. This is my completely dry clean tone from the amp. So the first thing that I'll pretty much always use on clean sounds is the Mini Ego Comp. Next thing I will show you is a bit of delay. So this is just like a kind of vintage style delay on the H9. And 9 times out of 10, this is kind of where I get my modulation from. It is in the tails of the delay. I'm going to turn the delay off for a minute, and I'm going to show you what I've got going on the collider. Now this is kind of unusually ambient for me. If I was doing pop stuff, I would have it dialed way more subtle. But because of the nature of the music that I'm playing with this, it's a lot more ambient. And I must say, I really am digging the Source Audio stuff at the moment. I had a Strymon Blue Sky on here before, which I could just never quite get on with. I could never dial it in a way that I was fully happy with. I never had that problem so much with the Flint, but with the Blue Sky, for some reason, just couldn't get on with it so well. Whereas with this, I really like the sound of the decay, and I really like tonally speaking where the reverb sits. It's really nice, and this is quite a big kind of ambienty reverb. So what I tend to do is run that in conjunction with the H9, so we get this kind of thing. Okay, next up is the Bogner Blue pedal, which I have set up kind of fairly gainy at the moment. But it sounds pretty convincingly ampy to me. I like it for rhythm stuff and for lead stuff. It's just a nice colour to have on there, and it's not quite as kind of HD sounding as the Mezzabarba's own overdrive. Okay, next up we have the Analogman Chorus, which by itself sounds like this. Very vintagey sounding, which I like, because the way that I tend to use it would be for a Dean DeLeo type Stone Temple Pilots vibe. Okay, I suppose my kind of stock rhythm sound would be something like this. which there are kind of different sort of flavors of. Again, we have the kind of Dean DeLeo thing, but like a kind of heavier version of it. As well as kind of like some wetter versions of it. So for example, if I was doing some lead stuff. Okay, then we might have some slightly weirder stuff going on, like a whammy patch. And some truly disgusting sounds, like one which I call Death Verb. For some of the sort of hairier projects that I play for. Okay, and the rest of it is really just kind of different flavors and tempos and subdivisions of delays. For example, another kind of really ambient one. And that's kind of pretty much it really, folks, for now anyway. As I get deeper into this, I'll probably get a bit wackier with sounds. And what I'm thinking of doing is kind of like a full rig rundown kind of vibe, where we will look at what's going on with the guitars, what's going on with the sort of 3 different amps I use, as well as how I use the Kemper and the reactive load and how I use software stuff as well. But that is a longer video for another time. So for now, I will say goodbye and have a great week. I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.